And the thing is, I do believe there was talk about these things. I believe if we study history, you know, the Confederates were able to shoot pterodactyls, you know, back in the Civil War, and they spread these things out. Anybody can look it up online.
Google it
They
yourself.
spread these things out, and this is a historical fact. So, you know, they spread this thing out, and it's got a huge winglet. It was a pterodactyl they shot. So, of course, these things have been around. Now, they went extinct, obviously, slowly, but surely. And so,
what I'm saying is Jesus wrote a dinosaur to work. That's history. It's in the Bible. How to Train Your Dragon.
Historical facts.
And if you don't believe it, do your own research. Pull up Google. You'll find the picture, I promise.
Oh my god.
Thank you, John Gleason, Godless engineer, for gifting me this beautiful moment. Y'all remember when they tried to cancel Steven Spielberg for posing with an animatronic triceratops animal rights activist?
Back it up.
Hit it from the back.
Cloaca. Historical facts.
Eat my ass, BP. You're down here bailing on the rest of us because you don't want to process your grief and shame like a normal person by drinking and mistreating strangers.
No, Rick. It is you who must nibble my cloaca, or bird asshole.
Everyone knows what a cloaca is.
you know, back in the Civil War, and they spread these things out. Anybody can look it up online. They spread these things out, and this is a historical fact. So, you know, they spread this thing out, and it's got a huge winglet. It was a pterodactyl they shot. So, of course, these things have been around. Now, they went extinct, obviously, slowly, but surely. And so,
Paul Bunyan was sharing some Funyuns with his pet velociraptor.
Whoa.
Oh, you thought it was an ox? Roll back the clock. Let me knock your socks off. Historical facts.
I didn't cut out. You heard me. Are you a pervert or something? Okay.
What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? I'm the Godless Engineer, and I critically analyze apologist claims to give you the best arguments and information so that you could stand up and use your voice. I just realized I didn't check my audio levels, so I'm probably very soft. Yep, I am soft. I'm soft, but not that kind of soft. All right, so tonight we're going to be taking a look at a video that claims that it can scientifically prove God exists, but not just scientifically prove that God exists. It says that scientists are saying that God must exist for a lot of different reasons that they are going to lay out. And they're going to be using the Quran in order to support their conclusion that God must exist and that the Quran is the one true word of God, because it makes several scientific predictions, and we're going to hear about some of these so-called predictions, and they're quite hilarious. So if you want to fuck around and find out how the Quran proves that God exists and all scientists are acknowledging this, then please stay tuned. All right, heathens. Well, we do have somewhat of a condensed show tonight, and that's because the actual video that we're going to be watching is like nearly 15 minutes long. But there's a good chunk of it in the middle that is pretty dumb, and we're just going to watch it all the way through. And you'll understand why I don't feel like responding to every single quote that they throw out in that in this particular video. So we're going to condense it down a little bit tonight. We are going to have news to cover, and then we're going to jump straight on into the video review. I was pretty rushed this afternoon to get stuff together, so I didn't get any comments together or anything like that, but we will be back next week with some more fuck around and find out. Oh, wait. Well, that's right. We'll be in Las Vegas next Friday. Okay, next Friday night, we're going to be in Mount Zion National Park. Oh, sorry. Zion National Park. So next week there's no live stream, and the week after that there's so it's going to be a 2-week hiatus. This will be the last stream for a couple of weeks. I always kind of get ahead of myself and I forget about my schedule whenever I start talking about shit. So, but we are going to get on into the news with, you know, some bullshit that you don't want to learn about. Today I learned some shit that you definitely don't want to know about. All right, let's see. I did not get this set up correctly. Muskie Boy is next. All right, hold on. I got to get my, you know, I was so bumfuzzled about getting everything ready. I didn't even get my screen set up like I normally like it. And so this is just so unprofessional. I should just delete my entire channel right the fuck now. All right. So first up in the news, China don't give a shit. China don't care. China, seen here, not giving a single fuck about the Tangerine Tyrant's tariffs or threats, just bitch slap dumbass Donald with a steel-toed boot of reality. First move, they shut down rare earth exports to U.S. defense contractors. And guess what? That's a nut-crushing blow, because China digs up 70% of the world's rare earth minerals and refines 90% of it. That's right. Trump's precious little trade war just dry humped the fuck out of the same defense contractors he's been auctioning off the government favors for. Oh, but that part, but the party is just getting started on this bullshit. China then whipped out a 12-inch spiked dildo of diplomacy and canceled every beef import contract with U.S. vendors. Then cozied up with Australia like it was prom night. And here's the kicker. A full 77% of these fucking idiots voted for this economic meat grinder. Moo, motherfucker, moo. So, yeah, Donald Trump's trade war with China is not turning out like you thought. Nope, he is definitely getting fucked hard. Bent over, face down, ass up, and China is just wailing on that ass. And it's all because, apparently, while China was only holding deuces, it came down on the flop with 2 deuces. So they had 4 of a kind, and there's no hope for Trump getting 4 of a kind whatsoever. This is fuckery, economic fuckery if I've ever seen it. Like, I can't imagine a bigger fumble other than the last 2 times we did tariffs and it fucked over the economy. But hey, that's only history. Why would we want to fucking learn from that? It's just a rock star. All right. Enough of China, you know, bending us over like that. Next, we're going to get this asshole. So, as you know, this is Elon Musk. He's seen here eating shit after failing to rig the Minnesota Supreme Court like the half-baked Bond villain he thinks he is. And he is allegedly playing cyber patty cake with fucking Russian hackers through his little shadow organization, Doge. According to a whistleblower at the NLRB, that's the National Labor... I don't know if it's review relations. Yep. I don't know why I blanked on that. National Labor Relations Board. These Doge dipshits slithered into their systems, spun up a bunch of admin accounts like it was open mic night at the Kremlin, and then, get this, handed over the login credentials to the goddamn Russians. You might be kind of curious, how do you know this? There's no way that you could know that they had to give over the usernames and the passwords and all this. What? There's only one way they could have gotten those things in such a short amount of time. Because only 15 minutes, 15 minutes after the Doge team created these accounts, the firewalls were turned off. They started pumping data out of the system like it was a goddamn fire hydrant, and login attempts were lighting up the system from Moscow like it was the goddamn 4th of July. Whatever the fuck they got over in Russia. Yes, with correct usernames and passwords. The only thing that stopped them from actually getting into the system was a policy that says, hey, we don't accept outside logins from shady ass places like goddamn Russia or Belarus or wherever in the fuck they were trying to spoof their IPs from. And just to make it more Twilight Zone with a MAGA hat here, this all goes down at the exact same time that Putin's pool boy Hedgeseth shuts down the cyber counter operations against Russia. You think that's a coincidence? You think it just so happened? It happened. Oops, all Kremlin is what Pete Hedgeseth said. That's like calling a baseball bat to the face and unexpected dental work. Now, Elon's SpaceX is in pole position to roll out the Golden Dome, and he's going to make it a subscription-based missile defense system. That's right, folks. The defending the homeland is now as easy as subscribing to Netflix, because we all know that went well. Assuming Netflix also gave Putin the goddamn remote. So I gotta ask, is this the dystopian hellhole the Cheeto Jesus cult voted for? Because it sure as shit smells like it. Welcome to the Red Hat Apocalypse, comrade. Because we're going to get invaded by fucking Russia, I'm sure. I mean, it kind of seems like the one organization that, for some reason, being run by a South African Nazi is given unilateral ability to cut off funding, access sensitive information, and give away username and passwords so that they can let the Russians access our data. How in the fuck is this guy not in some kind of prison locked away yet? And all of his little doji dipshit flying monkey assholes. What do you think any other government employee, temporary. He's a temporary government employee, but some of the people that work under him are full-ass government employees. Do you think anybody else would be able to do this kind of shit and get away with it? I don't think so. So that's it. That's it for Comrade Musk. And then finally, we've got some, atheist news, Christian nationalist news. All this kind of works in together. This is Marco Rubio, as you all know, by his shit-eating grin. Well, he doesn't have a grin on. Well, butter my biscuits and brand me with a cross. Marco Rubio, seen here watching the rest of the cabinet play with Cheeto Jesus from the cuck chair. And the Red Hat Crusaders have cooked up a good old-fashioned Jesus snitch line. That's right, the State Department's rolling out a see something, snitch something hotline so government workers can report anti-Christian bias like it's 1984, but with extra flaming hot Cheeto dust on their lips. Do you wear a pride pin to work? Do you mention to your coworkers that you don't go to church? Maybe you don't believe in God at all. Boom! Karen from accounting's got your ass on a divine watch list. This isn't about religious freedom at all. It's definitely not about the Christians being persecuted, because fuck no, they're not being fucking persecuted. This is about turning the federal government into a Sunday school with nukes. And let's not act shocked. This is just the latest circle of hell from the Trumpian playbook. These are the same Bible-thumping bastards who tried to ban Muslims, forced prayer into classrooms, or at least they're trying to, and told women their wombs were government property now. Now they want to turn HR departments into Christian inquisitions. It's Project 2025 with all the fucking persecution complex that's baked within it. If you're not pledging allegiance to white Jesus and the MAGA flag, you're a target. So yeah, welcome to the Christian Taliban's America, land of the free, as long as you kneel open wide when they say pray so that you can receive Jesus and all of his glory on your face. It's a Jesus facial. They want to give you a Jesus facial. They're promoting Jesus facials in the government now. And if you don't suck that Jesus dick and get that facial, they'll report you, and they'll definitely deport you. To where? I don't know. Me, I'll figure something out in Puerto Rico, I guess. I mean, that's the next place that I could probably go, right? They could deport my ass there. I don't know where I'd go there, but I guess I'd have to figure it the fucketh out, right? They are starting to deport, or at least threatening to deport U.S. citizens. Like full ass U.S. citizens, get the fuck out of the country. I don't know where they're supposed to go because Trump is actively trying to turn every other nation in the world into a fascistic regime like him. He's convinced Italy to revoke their quote unquote woke policies about LGBTQ individuals. He's threatened the UK with pulling, their, friendship trade agreement, whatever, and the fuck kind of cockholding thing they do. They're threatening, he's threatening to sever that. And so, I mean, it's just all over the place right now. Anyways, that's going to be it for Marco Shitface Rubio over here. And like I said, we're not going to have any comments tonight, so we're going to jump right on into the video review. Before I do that, though, I do want to announce it's kind of going to be a mega streaming day almost on Sunday. So on Sunday, I've got the Atheist Experience at 4:30, right? And once that's over, I may have to leave early. I'm going to have to jump on over at The Line for their Sunday show after dark at 7 p.m. So it's going to be just a whole afternoon and night of streaming for me. So I'm gonna be spending time with Casey and Xander this weekend. So you won't see me again until Sunday, but I will be on both channels this Sunday if you want to call in and complain about all of this stuff. Also, before we get to the show tonight, I hope you guys had a good Friday. You know who didn't have a good Friday, if he existed? Jesus, because he got killed. He got killed on a cross, all because God couldn't change his mind and had to kill his Horcrux here on earth. And so I hope that you feel really good about that, you fucking sinners. But also remember that if you don't sin, like just sin all the time, Jesus died for nothing. So make sure you go out there and live it up for Jesus. I mean, anytime you do a sin, be like, I'm doing this for Jesus. Whatever that sin might be, I'm not going to try to, pantomime that at all. Whatever sin you want to do, just make sure you attribute it to Jesus. If you attribute it to Jesus while you're looking a Christian in the face, that's definitely going straight to heaven. All right. Let's see. I don't even have the video pulled up yet. Do have it downloaded. At least I did that much.
What if everything you know about science and religion?
Uh-oh.
We got a new member.
Woo, Zoomy Tomato did a member chat. Zoomy says, Jesus died for your sins. Makes about as much sense as I stubbed my little toe for your car insurance to me. Yeah, I mean, I hit myself in the face with my juggling ball a second ago. Is your mortgage okay? That's about as much sense as it makes. Okay, let's get to the video. The video response is incoming. Sorry, I gotta fix the vertical thing over here. Okay, alrighty. Now, like I said, this is about 15 minutes long, but you'll see why a good chunk of this is just not even gonna need to be, responded to really. So, this guy is going to, well, I say guy, it's an AI voice. The title of this video is They Tried to Hide This. Science Just Pointed to God.
We got a new member.
Dumping Trash says, oh, please put this in hyper mode because this shit was stupid and it needs to go by fast, please. I have to listen to things slowly so that I can grasp everything. Although I do have my new little electric notepad here that I got for like $30 off of Amazon. And I'm going to be taking my notes, but we will have to listen to it so that I can understand what he's fucking saying and really process it. So sorry about that. They're dumping trash, Jonathan. So anyways, AI voice, it's got AI backgrounds. You'll definitely I'm going to point out the AI backgrounds when you see them, but you'll definitely be able to notice them. That's why I definitely did not try to use any kind of AI art generator in order to get the thumbnail done tonight. I don't mind using, like, I don't mind having AI generate some of the more crazy stuff that is really niche and I'm just not going to find on the internet. I don't mind doing that because I don't expect artists. Well, for one, I don't expect artists to, be at my beck and call for whatever kind of crazy shit I have in my mind. But also, too, I don't have the money or the capital to spend on art, like new art for every single video I do. I publish a lot of videos, so that would be kind of crazy. But in any case, he puts a lot of AI images actually in his video, which thankfully I've never done. Like, I've never put an AI image or AI video like in one of my videos. It's always just been sort of thumbnail related. But in any case, he's going to be using science to prove that God exists, and then he's going to throw some Quran on that shit. So let's see what he's got to say.
What if everything you know about science and religion is about to change? Can science...
Oh shit, get ready to change, everybody. We might need to pack all this shit up. That science shit, this science shit, get all the beakers, honey. We don't need to have any beakers here because this is going to change everything. And all we need is the AI generated Quran sitting on a blanket. Thank you, honey, for collecting all the beakers in preparation for us getting fucked over hard with the science guy.
Science, which has unlocked the deepest secrets of the universe, truly prove the existence of God? In this video, we're not just going to talk about theories. We'll explore the astonishing truth about...
I feel like it's very obvious that this is an AI generated image. Like, every image so far has been AI generated, and even the voice is AI generated. What are theists now? Like, is this what theists have been reduced to? Like, they don't want to put their voices out there. They're oh so persecuted.
What? Wine money. I can actually just make wine.
Daniel M says, David says, good night. Good night there, David. I hope you have a great night tonight. And I'm actually going to write a note down to call you, Daniel, because last week I know you said that you lost your job and everything like that. So I definitely want to check up in on you. Okay. All right. Let's continue.
The beginning of everything. Modern science has uncovered remarkable mysteries. But when it comes to the origin of life and the universe, can science provide the answers?
So, I mean, I feel like eventually we can, because I do feel that there is an answer. Now, just because we don't have that answer now doesn't mean that we won't ever be able to attain it. Now, I don't think that we'll ever be able to obtain like absolute truth. But I kind of in this weird position where I agree that absolute truth does exist, but I think that due to our human condition and just our perception and everything like that, I think that we'll never really be able to obtain it, or we won't be able to know that we have attained absolute truth. But I mean, I feel like the origins of life on Earth and the origins of the Earth and the cosmos and everything like that, and where the universe came from, I feel like those questions can be answered. And I feel like the answer is not a magical space wizard, especially a magical space wizard that blesses a pedophile in the 7th century.
If, as science pushes the boundaries of knowledge, it leads us right back to a creator. Stay with me till the end.
Oh, we're here riding. We're riding like it's a fucking one of those horses or a bull or something like that. Like, we're going to stay on for the whole 15 minutes, not just 8 seconds, okay?
Because what I'm about to show you could change how you view the world. Forever. Science has unlocked countless mysteries of the universe. But even the most advanced scientists admit there's so much it cannot explain.
Right. I don't see how this, factors into anything really. Like, we know a lot, but we also know that we don't know a whole lot more. So fuck what? I feel like science is a very progressive and forward-thinking field, and we're always looking to expand our knowledge. And I think one of the core principles of science is to always pursue knowledge. And so I feel like, considering the fact that we'll never know if we've attained absolute knowledge, continuously seeking knowledge, I think, is probably the best way to go about life, because the more knowledge you gain, the better representation your worldview is of the actual world that exists. And I feel like a worldview that comports with the reality that we exist within, I feel like that's the best way to navigate this reality and navigate our lives. So like, yeah, there's still a whole bunch of shit that we need to learn, and that's not a bad thing. I always hate it how these religious people, they always paint the fact that science doesn't have all the answers is like a bad thing. But that's because their supposed holy book has all the answers. So they only see science as slowly catching up to their own religion. But as we'll see in this video, they have to twist their religion and the statements that their religion makes into comporting with what science finds out. It's not that we understand things because of religion. We understand things, and then religion twists itself to comport with the reality that it exists within.
Take the origin of life. Despite breakthroughs in biology and chemistry, science still doesn't fully understand how life began.
Maybe true. Maybe we don't. Let's just assume that we'll never know. Does that automatically mean an ancient space wizard is the more likely conclusion? I don't think so. I don't think that magical space wizards have a chance in hell of being the best explanation, considering how everything that we've attributed in the past to this magical space wizard has always turned out to be some natural process that doesn't need any kind of intelligent intervention in order for it to operate. It seems very unlikely that magical space wizard is going to be the conclusion. So regardless of how much science reveals about the origins of life or this universe or anything like that, a natural explanation, it just coming about naturally, is always going to be the most likely conclusion until we find out otherwise.
Science explains the how, but when it comes to the why, science falters.
I mean, science can explain how, but it can also explain why things happen. Now, not this like a philosophical why that he's talking about, but like, why does it rain? Science can answer that. Why did it rain today? Science can answer that. So there are certain whys, but not the same kind of why that this guy is talking about, because this guy is talking about metaphysical, transcendental whys. Like why rain exists in first place. And I mean, I feel like science can give a sufficient answer to that, but it's not the answer that he's going to require, because he needs some kind of like ultimate background why, as this philosophical, metaphysical why rain kind of situation. And I feel like he's basically doing a false analogy here, because he's comparing this very empirically based discipline. He's comparing this very empirically based discipline to a metaphysical type of thing, like a metaphysical discipline that gives you abstract like thought experiments and all this other shit. And while those can be useful in getting to like empirical evidence for something, I think that to compare the two as if they're on the same footing is a bit wrong. Like that's a false analogy there.
What's the purpose of it all? For all its achievements, science can't answer the biggest question of all. Why is there something rather than nothing?
Oh, there's always been something. That would be the answer. So no, science can answer that, and there's always been something. Energy, and this is in the first law of thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So energy has always existed. The universe is made up of energy, and in our universe, entropy is increasing, which doesn't mean that energy is like going away or disintegrating or something like that, or like running out. It's the amount of usable energy that is being depleted until we get to this equilibrium point, which is the heat death of the universe. So there's always been something, and there's never been nothing as far as that we can tell. And I don't even know if nothing is technically possible. So you're sitting there claiming that science can't explain why there's something rather than nothing, when science has already explained that.
Is the universe here by chance? Is it a result of random events over time? Or is there a deeper purpose?
Well, is there a deeper reason? Like, are there more reasons than just accident? Which he's using accident in a way that means that there's no underlying reasons or causes for something to happen. It just spontaneously happens. That is what he means by accident. He doesn't mean by accident that like just like happenstance, like, oh, that this just so happened to collide into that. Like the reason for that event happening is the previous events that led up to it, right? So, I mean, and then he gets to the whole purpose part, right? So he wants there to be a purpose to the universe. Like he thinks that there needs to be some kind of transcendental reason or purpose for this universe. Like there has to be a God. So he's already starting from his conclusion. He's starting that there has to be a God out there to create everything and give it purpose. Like there has to be a reason why he created it. And there's it serves a purpose for this God. He starts at his conclusion, and that's not the way that you go about reasoning towards anything.
Science has the tools to observe, measure, and theorize, but it can't measure the unseen, the metaphysical.
I'm sorry. Wait, it can measure the unseen. Like like, does he mean undetectable? Like if something is just simply not detectable whatsoever in reality, then yes, I would agree that science is not geared towards detecting the undetectable, because that would be a contradiction. So I mean, yeah, if that's what you mean, if you literally mean unseen, we definitely have ways of detecting unseen things. We can detect gamma rays. We can detect alpha particles, beta particles. We can even fucking detect black holes, which can't be seen. You have to look at the effects around them. So, I mean, unseen is really bad and poor choice of words there. Yeah. So, and then metaphysical, which I always need to refresh my memory on what the fuck metaphysical is. Because I can never, let's say, relating to metaphysics. Thank you so much. Metaphysics, the branch of philosophy that deals with the first principles of things, including abstract concepts such as being, knowing, substance, cause, identity, time, and space. So, I mean, as far as like time and space goes, like an abstract theory with no basis in reality. Okay, I mean, if you go with that definition, the abstract theories with no basis in reality, then sure, science can't describe things that don't exist in reality. If that's what you're talking about. As far as the other definition that I first read off, like, you know, identity, I'm not exactly, I guess what he's meaning there is consciousness, right? Time and space, we can like science definitely can explore those things. Not knowing or knowledge, like, I believe science can definitely lead us in a direction there. So, I mean, it's kind of a mixed bag, I guess. I don't know. I disagree with the way that he's saying, like, science can't do these things. But if something's not based in reality, then no, science won't be able to analyze or make any kind of conclusions about that object, because science is meant to describe things in reality.
The spiritual. Faith, on the other hand, embraces the unseen.
No, science embraces the unseen too. If he means undetectable, then I would agree, because God is not detectable in reality. If you can't detect something in reality, if it doesn't exist in reality, does it even exist? I guess maybe that would be one of those metaphysical questions that we would have to ponder and abstractly think about. But I would agree that faith is definitely focused on shit that does not exist. I would have to agree with him there if that's what he means.
The belief in a creator that can't be measured in a lab, but is felt deep within the heart. Science might one day tell us.
Again, he's using metaphorical language in order to talk about an empirical discipline. Like, so faith is knowing something deep in your heart. Motherfucker, your heart's an organ that pumps blood, right? It's one of the strongest organs that you have in your body. Like, there's no feelings that occur deep in your heart unless you're getting stabbed there. So, I mean, You're talking about the metaphorical meaning of deep in your heart, which is really just your consciousness and your emotions and all that kind of stuff. Like, I understand, but if you're going to compare shit, shit to empirical science, then you have to understand how you're applying a false analogy here, because you can't sit there and say like, oh, science is such shit, it can't tell you what you're feeling deep inside your heart. That's because your heart pumps blood and it doesn't have thoughts, you dickhead.
How the universe works, but it cannot explain why it exists or why it seems so perfectly designed for life.
It's not perfectly designed for life. It can tell us why it exists and how it exists. I mean, like, the why it exists is just because universes naturally inflate from quantum scalar fields or whatever kind of other thing out there that causes universes to inflate. The why would just be because of natural processes, universes inflate. Like, that would be, I would think that would be the why. Like, what he's wanting is some kind of ultimate purpose behind it. Like, there was some intelligent deity out there that created this universe for a reason. Like, he had a purpose for it. And the only way that this religious person can contemplate the universe, his existence, their existence, I don't know what their, how they identify, their existence, they just can't fathom a reason, like there being no ultimate reason at all, that we're just fucking here because of natural processes. They have to attribute it to some kind of magical space wizard that likes to dub pedophiles his prophet on Earth.
This is where science and faith meet. Science provides knowledge, but faith offers meaning.
I mean, I would say that philosophy can offer meaning, and you can derive meaning from scientific facts and everything like that. I would say the very emotional thing of having meaning versus, scientific facts and knowledge. I think that, you can definitely separate those two. But you don't have, like, faith isn't the only source of meaning anywhere. You can have different philosophies, philosophical things. Like, I'm personally a secular humanist. So, I mean, that gives me an immense amount of meaning. I find a lot of meaning in applying secular humanism to my life and philosophically, considering my existence in this world, in this society, in this universe, through the lens of secular humanism. That offers me meaning. So faith is not the only place that you get meaning.
So, what if the mysteries that science can't explain are the very things that point us to something greater than ourselves?
This would just be a God of the gaps argument. So he's basically saying, or they are basically saying that because science can't explain this one thing, therefore God is the answer. And so there's a gap in our knowledge, in our scientific knowledge or our scientific explanations, and he prefers to fill that with the caulk of God. I said caulk, just for anybody that was curious.
Perhaps the answers we seek don't lie in equations, but in the depths of our faith. The universe we live in seems perfectly designed.
It actually doesn't seem perfectly designed. If it were perfectly designed, especially for life, we would see more life out there in the universe, or at least we would be able to more easily detect life. But considering that, like, our entire solar system is devoid of life, with the exception of our Earth, and the only life that we know about in the entire universe is life that exists here on Earth, which is highly unlikely that life doesn't exist elsewhere. But the fact is that if this universe was geared towards life, we would see more hospitable, like more environments that were hospitable to our kind of life. But also this violates that anthropic principle idea. So basically what the anthropic principle says is that life conforms to the conditions that it exists within. So if this universe had come up differently, if there were different properties to this universe, then life would just, develop and form with those properties shaping it. And so we can't sit here and say, oh, this is perfectly designed for me. It's that whole puddle argument, right? This universe is perfectly designed for our kind of life. So there must be a creator. No, our kind of life developed in this universe, given the conditions of the universe, and life was shaped by the conditions of the universe. We can't then, at the end of that chain, sit there and be like, oh, everything was perfectly designed when life was shaped and molded by the properties of this universe. So that's just totally illogical. This whole design thing violates the anthropic principle.
So perfectly that some scientists call it fine-tuned. But
do you like the vague language here? Some scientists out there say that it's fine-tuned. Please cite those scientists. I would love, are they astrophysicists, or do they have PhDs in law, or do they have PhDs in mechanical engineering or something like that? Please tell me, which scientists are you talking about? Is this an argument from false authority, or are you just using an argument from authority? There is a difference. False authority would be using an authority outside of the field in which you are citing them for, and saying that, oh, they disprove this idea, therefore you're wrong. That's the false authority. Just an argument from authority is saying, oh, this scientist says this thing, therefore that thing is a fact. That would be an argument from authority. You need to support your arguments with evidence that prove the conclusion. It's not just that, oh, some authority out there says that it's true. And you'll never find a good authority in a field saying, I say this is true, therefore it is true. That's a bit authoritarian. What you generally find are scientists saying, yes, this is a true fact, and here's why. Right? Like, they give you the evidence. They give you the logical reasoning behind their conclusion. And you can then investigate that further. Like, if you doubt it, fuck, whatever. Anyways, my point is that he's just vaguely mentioning scientists here, and it's just not impressive at all. But also, creationists of any kind of ilk, they always just generally cite scientists, because whenever they mention specific scientists, they always get their asses handed to them.
why does it seem so? Imagine this. The laws of physics, the forces that govern our universe, are so precise that even the slightest change in their strength would make life impossible.
No, it wouldn't. If there was a slight change to it, considering the anthropic principle, then life would just develop in a different way. If it changes so much that life wouldn't develop in this universe, then we wouldn't be here having this conversation. And so, just mentioning that a slight change is really an oversimplification of how physical laws work. And so you're not going to find any kind of constant out there that would actually prove your conclusion on this. And he's about to demonstrate why.
Take gravity, for example. If it were just a little stronger, stars would burn out too quickly. If it were weaker, stars wouldn't form at all. Now,
so this is not true, and I've actually I wrote down some notes for this. So obviously there's the anthropic principle. If gravity were different, then life would just develop differently. Of course, he's mentioning stars collapsing and everything like that, but we've actually been able to run simulations where stars were still able to form with a different gravity coefficient and different of these constants that they always harp on about. They ran simulations with different values for these constants, and there's a wide range of them. And technically, there is a range, and there's an infinite amount of numbers in between there for which these values could exist. And if you go with the multiverse hypothesis, then there's nothing that prevents universes from popping up that instantly collapse on themselves and everything like that. We just so happen to be located in a universe that just so happened to hit the correct gravitational constant or gravity whatever for a universe to form and for life to form. So it's just we're one of an infinite amount of worlds that are universes that developed that was able to have life in it. So gravity is just one of numerous physical constants, and advocating fine tuning. When advocating for fine tuning, you often cherry pick constants that seem improbable, while ignoring the countless others that do exist. But the reason why they pick gravity is because it feels intuitively compelling. Not because there's actual evidence that these parameters are free to vary dramatically, which is another thing, is that, we don't know that these numbers can even change. Like, we don't know if there's some kind of underlying scientific principles that we just don't understand yet. Well, underlying physical laws of reality that we just scientifically don't understand yet, that are causing these values to be these values. And so, like, we just simply don't understand enough of the early universe, or the universe in general, or how universes work in this particular context, to really be able to say one way or another. And I don't know if we'll ever be able to know. But ultimately, this is just an appeal to ignorance, right? He's just appealing to a fact that he can't fathom, there being a different value, or how things could be this way, and life still produce and everything like that. So, I feel like he's just appealing to, ignorance in this particular situation.
Think about the force of electromagnetism. It keeps electrons in orbit around the nucleus of an atom. But if it were even slightly stronger or weaker, atoms couldn't hold together.
So again, notice you can tell all of the AI graphics behind it. But the slightly different is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. This kind of it's in the same vein as the gravity situation, because they're violating the anthropic principle. Like, if electromagnetism had been different values and everything, then life would just develop differently. And we would still be sitting here having this exact same argument with different electromagnetic values. Again, they're cherry picking fundamental forces. They're oversimplifying chemistry and physics. Because the reason why I say that is that they claim this claim that they're making, that even slight variations in electromagnetism might lead to entirely different yet stable forms of matter or chemistry that could potentially support different forms of complexity or life. Sorry, I think I said that wrong. So they're oversimplifying chemistry and physics, and this is because of the fact that even slight variations in electromagnetism, it might lead to entirely different yet stable forms of matter or chemistry that could potentially support different forms of complexity or life. It's human arrogance, his arrogance, their arrogance, to assume our current atomic structure is the only path to complex phenomena. So again, they're automatically assuming that our life, our kind of universe, is the only kind of universe that can support life and that can exist. That those are the basic assumptions that they have to make before they can even start making their argument for God. And these are massive ad hoc assumptions that poison their entire model. And then yet again, appealing to ignorance is essentially what they're doing.
These are just two examples, but there are dozens of fundamental constants that determine how the universe behaves, from the speed of light to the strength of nuclear forces. Scientists call this fine-tuning, the idea that the universe is so precisely balanced that any slight deviation would make life as we know it impossible.
See, again, any slight deviation. No, the slight deviations can happen, and different life, different organization of the universe would pop up. But that doesn't mean that our organization of life, our organization of the universe, is the only kind that can exist. That's the ultimate fundamental ad hoc assumption that they have to make in order to make this argument. And it just doesn't hold up, because there's no way that we can demonstrate that our kind of universe and our kind of life is the only kind of life that can exist. That's what it would take in order to support their conclusion. Until they prove that, then their conclusion is bunk.
But here's the kicker. This fine-tuning isn't just a coincidence. In fact, it points to something greater, a purposeful design. In the Quran, Surah Al-Mulk reminds us, He who created the 7 heavens one above another. You do not see any in the creation of the most merciful any inconsistency.
I don't know what it means by you don't see any inconsistencies. Because like, do you mean like there's no inconsistency in nature? Because uniformitarianism is a fundamental part of empirical science and everything like that. So like if there is an inconsistency, then it illuminates something we don't understand yet, and we resolve it, and it no longer is an inconsistency. And if we ever notice an inconsistency, then we just attribute it to our us being uninformed or not understanding reality as it exists. So I mean, this right here, starting from the beginning of that quote that he gave, I don't know what the 7 heavens are. I don't know what that means. As far as from like a cosmological perspective of our universe, as well as our solar system, I don't know what the 7 heavens are. Do you mean like the 7 planets up there, the distances between Earth and the other planets? Is that what you mean, or what? So the entire sentence just does not make sense coming from an all-powerful being, because it's basically just ad hoc stating, I'm a magical wizard. I created 7 heavens that you can't detect in any kind of way, but also everything works consistently because I wave my dick every morning. And that's essentially what their fucking magical wizard of a god is claiming here. You can't just ad hoc claim shit without actually proving it. You need to prove that God is necessary for the consistency that we see in reality. You can't just proclaim it to be true. That's presuppositionalism.
So return your vision to the sky. Do you see any breaks? This verse emphasizes that the universe is not chaotic. It's perfectly designed.
Well, no, it just says that it's consistent, and they see chaos in the consistency of nature. And so like that sentence doesn't make sense for them to say that, because nature is consistent. It consistently operates the same way as it did in the past, as it does right now, and as it will be in the future, until you can show that some kind of natural process deviates or changes in how it functions. Then we will change our understanding of it, and then that will become predicted behavior. So like, I don't know what he means by it's all chaos. If by chaos you mean that shit's just happening without any kind of guiding hand, then yeah, but nature itself would be chaotic just in general. If you want to see it that way, if you want to put it in that context. But if you put it in a more empirical context of like how we understand nature to operate, it is consistent. It's not chaotic. What religious people rely on is a chaotic universe that is somehow wrangled. Like, who's that fucker that wrangles the tornadoes? Let's see, who wrangles tornadoes?
We got a new member.
Who's no, not tornado wranglers, storm chasers. Or no, I need the legendary Wild West tale. Who was it? Pecos Bill! They're sitting over here expecting God to wrangle nature like he's Pecos Bill trying to wrangle a tornado. It's all chaos and everything like that until God gets his fucking hands on it and chokes it while he fucks it. Because that's how Big Daddy Yahweh likes it. Mark Fernkoff says 7th Heaven is a cool store. With good music, weed pipes, and bongs, and also lots of porn and dildos and other sex toys. I don't know about the other 6. Okay, yeah, I don't know if I want to go to the other 6 heavens either. I feel like it only goes downhill from there.
And the precision we see in its creation aligns with what modern science calls fine-tuning. For example, if the force of gravity were slightly weaker, planets wouldn't be able to form.
Well, no, I mean, again, there's heavy lifting in slightly. obviously there's variations in the gravitational force that can exist, and planets can still form. It would just form differently.
If it were stronger, stars would burn out too quickly. It's as if someone set it all just right.
Not just right. I mean, the constants are what they are and produce the universe that we see, but that doesn't mean that those constants either can change, for one, or for two, if they were different, shit could still just exist in a different form. So like, just because our universe is organized in a certain way, because of these constants, doesn't mean that if the constants were somehow different, a universe still wouldn't form. Again, using heaven lifting with that slightly word.
Even the distance between the Earth and the Sun is perfectly suited for life.
If by perfect you mean that we get closer and farther away by an order of like 1.5 million miles every year, sure. Yeah, perfect. And the Goldilocks zone is like, it's bigger than our orbit, obviously. Let's see. How wide is the Goldilocks zone? There we go. It's the second one. 0.7 to 1.5 astronomical units is what it is. So it's between 120 kilometers it's about 75 million miles. So yeah. I mean, there's a big difference there. So like, there's I mean, on the order of like astronomical units and everything like that, the variability of our orbit around the sun is relatively small, right? And that's probably what he's talking about. But if you think about it on an order of like miles, like how many miles is it? It's like, it's a long distance. And so when he says slightly, he needs to be a bit more specific with his words there, because you can contextualize it in a way that it does make it seem very slight, like a slight movement of the Earth's orbit. But like, you would actually have to move the orbit like significantly in order for the things to happen that he's talking about happening.
If Earth were even a tiny bit closer to the Sun, it would be too hot for life. If it were farther, it would be too cold. How could all of these conditions, gravity, electromagnetism, the Earth's position, align so perfectly by accident?
Well, again, when he says accident, what he means is that there's no underlying reasons for them to happen, or there's no underlying cause for these things to happen. And that's the part that we don't know. We don't know if there's an underlying cause. Like, we don't know if these constants can change. But even if they can change, this is again a puddle specifically saying that, oh, this hole was designed specifically for me in my shape, when really the water is conforming to the shape of the puddle. It's the same thing with life. Life conforms to the conditions that it exists within. And the conditions are shaping life as it develops. And so if there were different constants that produced a different organized universe, then life would just develop within that organized universe. And you'd have the exact same situation of that life now looking back and being like, oh, it has to be perfectly designed for me, when that's just simply not the case.
Some say this fine-tuning is evidence of a creator, a purposeful design behind the universe. It's not just an accident that everything fits together so perfectly.
Well, no. How fucked up are these hands? Well, there's a thumb in the middle, like right here. There's another thumb. There's a thumb here, and then there's one finger with like a wart that's a whole ass other finger coming out of it, and then he's got 3 fingers. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not gonna shit on people with 6 fingers. I know that's a real condition, but like it looks really fucked up in my opinion. Like, that's not even how like a 6-fingered individual would be organized. Like, that's fucking alien shit right there. Holy fuck. Ah, shit. 7? Somebody said that there's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Am I missing one? Is there one that's hidden that I just don't see? There's the thumb on the bottom. Okay, I just thought that maybe the finger was broke or something. Like it looks like somebody broke their finger and like that's part of the bone. It's a nub. There's a nub. Anyways, all right, that totally threw me off. Again, they don't understand the anthropic principle, and they're automatically assuming that there's some kind of being out there that has to make life the way that it is.
The Quran echoes this idea. In Surah Al-Bayyinah, it says, "They were not commanded except to worship Allah, being sincere to Him in religion, Hunafa." The order and precision of creation points to the one who created it. The universe's fine-tuning is
So basically, you've got an ad hoc statement that the precision of the universe points to a God, but without actually proving that it does point to a God. So that's fallacious reasoning right there. Any ad hoc statement is going to make your hypothesis weaker. And if your hypothesis is this magical space wizard is the one that ordered things and keeps everything like, you know, consistent and everything, you're going to need to prove that. Can't just ad hoc state that he's the reason for it. So that's for one. And for two, I don't give a fuck what your Quran says. Okay. The Quran was written around the 7th century or so. And yeah, if God took that long to like reveal himself to people and reveal his true final form to a pedophile, I mean, I just really don't give a fuck what your Quran says.
Isn't just about chance. It's a reflection of wisdom, intelligence, and design.
I mean, if that's the case, like God has some really fucked up ideas about design and everything like that. Like, I mean, if God did that, then God set up the universe to make it look like it does not need him. And all you can do is do these ad hoc speculations about God being necessary for it without actually proving the conclusion that he is necessary for it. So I just don't know why I should believe you with this intelligent design bullshit.
A creator who knows the exact conditions required for life. Every discovery made by scientists about the universe's fine-tuning deepens the awe we feel.
I don't know what that means because actual, like, legitimate cosmologists out there, they are not convinced by the fine-tuning argument just because there's so much that we don't know that you can't draw a conclusion from it. And if you do find a scientist out there, even one, even a cosmologist or anything that jumps to the conclusion of God, you're still making a logical leap to the God conclusion. And you think that it's the only thing that can explain it without actually having the evidence to explain it. I mean, if it were this easy to prove that God exists, don't you think that somebody would have won a Nobel Prize in some kind of fucking field already? They haven't, because they haven't actually proved it, to at least not to the point that would actually get them considered for a Nobel Prize.
But it also deepens the realization that the universe and life itself are no accident. So the next time you look up at the night sky or ponder the vastness of the universe, remember, it's not just an accident. It's a masterpiece in motion, created with care, balance, and purpose.
I mean, if that's the case, then why on earth do we have like parasites that'll eat your eyes out? Well, why is it that there are kids that die of starvation? Like, don't you think that if God were to put a lot of care into making this world, that he would have made it so that, you know, that shit wouldn't happen? Or like, what about all of the horrible things that happen here on Earth just naturally? Fucking tornadoes forming and all this other shit, destroying whole ass cities, whole ass mobile home complexes. You know, all of this kind of shit. Like, what purpose does a fucking tornado have? What purpose does a goddamn flood have? What purpose does an earthquake have? Now, from a scientific standpoint, that's just how our world operates. That's how physics operates. It necessitates that tornadoes form, floods happen, and earthquakes occur. Like, all of those things are necessitated by like just how our world works in congruence with the physics of reality. So like, we don't have to have a purpose behind it. Actually, it's more sinister and sadistic for there to be a purpose behind it, because then you're saying, oh, God did this for a purpose. Oh, what was the purpose for him causing that earthquake that killed 30,000 people? Maybe two gay guys were fucking down the street. I don't know. Or as one politician said it, autism is caused by gay people existing. What about that one pastor who says that people's homes that get flooded are they get flooded because they're gay? Then his home got flooded. So, you know, there's that.
We're often told that science and belief in God don't go together. But what if the greatest minds in science thought otherwise?
Well, then they would be compartmentalizing. And there are plenty of scientists out there that do that. They compartmentalize their faith from their empirical knowledge about reality. And they rarely ever cross those streams, as it were. And so this compartmentalization is a very powerful tool of religion. They teach people to compartmentalize these things at a very young age, employing various thought-stopping techniques in order to get you to stop questioning why things don't make sense to your more analytical side of your brain. And so when we say that God and science are incongruent, I would say that's because God is about things that don't exist in reality, and about these things that don't exist in reality having control over things that exist in reality. Since these things exist outside of reality and science looks to describe our reality as it exists, then yes, those two things would have to be completely separate items. As soon as you can prove God, then God immediately becomes part of our reality. So there's no way that it can exist outside of the reality. So if you're hell-bent on God existing outside, super to reality, then your God will never exist.
Throughout history, some of the most brilliant scientists were not just believers in God. They were inspired by their faith.
Okay, so this is the bullshit that we're just going to let play. He's basically going to rattle off a whole bunch of scientists that also believed in God and said some stupid shit about how God's responsible for reality. And I'm just totally not, interested in quote mines like this, because the quote mines, they don't prove anything. They don't seek to prove anything. They don't provide any kind of evidence, and they are not evidence for a creator. I'm just kind of curious, in the chat, put a 1 in the chat right now if you just want me to skip to the next section where he starts sucking off Muhammad. Everybody's like, wait, do I do 1? Or like, what's the thing to just not do any of that? 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So Mark says 69. I'm not exactly sure where we're supposed to do that. 2. 2. Press 2. Let's see. Understand he believed you last way of thinking after him, but he believed studying cosmos. Yeah. This guy. Notice how they're all all AI generated like things. Like even Albert Einstein here is CGI'd. Max Planck. Hold on, I'm getting there. Look, he could even get like real pictures of scientists. Like these are AI generated images of general old man science. Same here. Generate an old man in science robe with glasses. Make him look like Isaac Asimov. Well, hold on. Okay, I'm going to let it play from here. Okay, but I want y'all to look at the, here's all the AI images. Who is the Santa looking fuck over here? Like, I feel like this guy is from Lord of the Rings. Like, where the fuck is this guy from? Why did he include this guy in the profile of all of these scientific looking guys? And then the guy all the way, oh shit, I'm not going to be able to point all the way to him. But there's one guy over here that just has a sliver of one cheek. Like, that's just down there. Like, all the way. I mean, and also, why is a composite, like the one next to the sliver of the cheek, why is that a composite of Brendan Fraser and Robert Downey Jr.? And then this guy right here, he kind of looks like maybe an aged Malcolm, Ian Malcolm? No, probably not. He's just general guy. But still, who is this Yahweh looking fuck here? One of these is not like the fucking other.
Says science and belief can't go together. Remind them of these giants who believed in both equations and the eternal.
I really don't care. What is this supposed to prove? How is this supposed to prove exactly that God definitely exists? Because a whole bunch of old ass scientists from back when faith was, everybody believed in some kind of God, some kind of mystical, magical thing because they thought magic was real. Like, how do they, not having a modern understanding of reality, how do they prove anything about God? This is just simply nothing. This just simply does not make sense, and it doesn't prove anything.
Because true knowledge doesn't divide, it connects.
It doesn't. True knowledge doesn't divide unless it's your division tables. Then it definitely does divide. True knowledge doesn't divide unless you're talking about the ratios and probabilities and shit. True knowledge doesn't divide unless you're talking about, like, shitty opinions that are like, oh, maybe we should genocide all these people. Like, I mean, I feel like it definitely can divide. Knowledge can divide. If I find out that you voted for Trump, that's going to divide me plenty of times away from fucking you. It's definitely going to divide our relationship in half because I'm not going to fucking talk to you anymore. You think I fucking talk to my stepfather anymore? Fuck no.
And the greatest minds in history knew that science, at its best, is a journey toward understanding the divine. Because true knowledge doesn't divide, it connects. And the greatest minds in history knew that science, at its best, is a journey toward understanding the divine.
I mean, maybe they thought that, like, maybe they thought that because they thought that God was responsible for nature. And so they felt like understanding nature better is them understanding God better and more clearly. But obviously that's a fallacious reasoning there, because they would have to prove that God is responsible first. So just because some scientists were wrong about a thing in the past doesn't mean that they will always and forever be right, about it. So I feel like all of this kind of goes back to how religious people are primed for their religion, because they are primed to think of just absolute facts and absolute knowledge. And unless you have absolute knowledge, then you don't know anything, right? And so if they come up against some kind of worldview that doesn't have, that doesn't explain every single thing about reality, even if it's just God exists and God's responsible, even if it, if it's a more honest worldview where it's like, oh, well, we don't know about this thing, then obviously that worldview is deficient, because you don't have a complete worldview that totally rules out God. And I feel like they lean so heavily on this, because I feel like they lean so heavily on this because they've been primed from a young age, or primed as part of their conversion into the faith, to totally reject anything that doesn't have like 100% code coverage on explaining reality. And religion feigns 100% code coverage by just plugging in God did it in random places. God did this, God did that, God did this. And just because you can plug it in there doesn't mean you're actually getting 100% code coverage.
Did you know that the Quran, revealed over 1400 years ago, contains knowledge that modern science is only now discovering?
Bullshit! We're going to get into some of these claims. The first one sets up the rest of it, the rest of the claims that they could make. And I only Googled the first one and I got notes on it. And so we're going to take a look at that. But after that, like, I was just like, fuck it. Fuck this. This is so fucking stupid. All right, let's go.
Many of these scientific facts were simply unimaginable for the people of the 7th century. Let's begin with one of the most astonishing examples: the development of the human embryo. In Surah Al-Mu'minun, the Quran says, "We created man from an extract of clay, then we made him as a drop in a place of settlement." This perfectly matches modern embryology, where the process starts from a fluid implanted in the uterus. But here's the
Notice how the Quran verse didn't say uterus, didn't say egg, didn't say womb. It didn't use any actual like scientific descriptions of like the reproductive systems of the human species. The ultimately, just sort of getting down to the nitty gritty of it, ultimately they're retrofitting, retconning the Quran to be this like source of information before they even knew it. But that's just not true. So, sorry, hold on. Oh, I had something lodged in there. Okay. So first of all, the language is vague and it's also poetic and not scientific, which is what I was talking about. This verse doesn't describe anything like a sperm, semen, soul. The language used here could describe anything, sperm, semen, a soul, rainwater, or even a metaphor for life starting out small. But the Quran does not mention a sperm fertilizing an egg, cell division, zygotes, or blastocysts, or any of the actual milestones of embryology. Also in the Quran, it talks about how the sun chases the moon, which is metaphorical language for how they observed the sun and moon to traverse through the sky. It talked about extracting clay, but this is straight from ancient mythology. The idea that humans were created from clay wasn't new or unique to the Quran. It shows up in Sumerian, Babylonian, Greek, and biblical traditions. This is just cultural recycling. They basically syncretize their faith, their version of the Abrahamic faith with previous ancient mythologies and came up with this whole clay idea. So that's like an old idea, so nothing new at this point, right? The drop in a place of settlement, which is honestly a weird fucking way to say shit, right? Which I know it was written in the 7th century and everything like that, so like I can't really harp on them too much for using that kind of language, but still, this kind of language seems a little bit weird to describe, like, cream pieing a girl. Anyways, so as far as my notes go here, it says that first, people have always known that sex leads to babies and that semen goes in the woman's body. Ancient Greek philosophers like Hippocrates and Aristotle had written extensively on embryology centuries before the Quran was written. The settling language could easily be a poetic description of semen entering the womb. Nothing miraculous about that. Basically, it's describing a dude deciding to cream pie a girl, and then you would think that God would mention, oh, but there's eggs in there. The woman has eggs, and the semen fertilize the eggs and all that. That would be amazing for fucking 7th century, pedophiles. But in this particular situation, it's literally the goat herders are like, well, I stick my dick in her and then I blow my load and then baby come out 9 months later. And that's essentially what they wrote down in the Quran in their fancy fucking language. But there are also scientific errors that exist in other embryological verses in the Quran. So we get Surah 23, 13 through 14, claims the embryo is a clinging clot and then a chewed bump. chewed lump. Sorry, a chewed lump. Neither one of those actually describe what a blastocyst or a fetus or anything like that. Like, it doesn't describe any kind of actual milestone of the embryo or the gestation of a human. I get the no mention of a female egg or DNA for that matter. And again, it's just retconning the Quranic verse to say something that it doesn't actually say. All right, so this is going to be new information for me. So we are going to be learning things as we go here, and maybe he'll bring up another. They'll bring up another verse or another scientific fact that apparently was predicted by Yahweh. But we'll see. I've got my notepad here ready for me to take notes.
Shocking part. This was described in the Quran centuries before microscopes were even invented. Now let's move.
No, it wasn't.
Move to the Big Bang Theory, the origin of the universe. Surah Al-Anbiya says, "Have those who disbelieved not considered that the heavens and the earth were a joined entity, and we separated them?" I
mean, that's a far cry from, the universe. Let's just go with the leading hypothesis right now, and that's the quantum tunneling and the universe inflating from a quantum scalar field. There's a big difference between what the Quran just said and this explanation. There once was a quantum scalar field that was in a false vacuum state. It fluctuated for whatever reason, and when it fluctuated from the false vacuum state into the true vacuum state, a massive expansion occurred, an inflation of the universe. Much like when you light a firecracker and it explodes, a chemical reaction happens in the firecracker example. A chemical reaction happens and all this potential energy is released all at once. Same thing happened with the initial inflation of the universe. There was a massive release of energy, and that energy was so hot and dense that not even light could travel through it. Not even atoms could form. It wasn't until about 300,000 years ago, or 300,000 years later, that light was able to travel through the universe, and the universe was cool enough for atoms to start forming. And so you'll notice that is a far cry difference from one time the earth and the heavens were all made of one, and then God split them with his dick. Much like J.D. Vance fucks a couch. Between the cushions. He parts them. Anyways, so, I mean, there's a pretty big difference there.
The idea of the universe starting from a single point and expanding is exactly what modern cosmology supports today.
Well, yeah, but that's not what the Quran said, if you notice. It said that the heavens and the earth were conjoined and formed as one until God parted them. So it makes it seem more like they were squished together, which I don't even know what that means. What does it mean for the heavens and the earth to be squished together? Like, I don't even know how that practically works in reality. I would have to have that explained to me. I mean, he's obviously retrofitting or retconning the Quran to make it seem like it's talking about a singularity that then inflates into everything. But the universe didn't inflate and then, it didn't pop out with an earth, which, I mean, to be quite honest, what the Quran said is the way that this guy's making it out is basically this.
Smoke weed every day.
In comic books, they also refer to people that were actually presidents. But that doesn't mean, there can be some.
Sorry, I had a lion show open, and it was chewed gum, so I was listening to that. Okay, so I mean that's essentially what they're talking about here.
Even more amazing is the Quran's description of the universe's expansion. Surah Al-Dariyat states, "And the heaven we constructed with strength, and indeed, we are its expander." Scientists like Edwin Hubble.
We are its expander. So, like, the inflation of the universe, it inflating, this massive expansion, we don't exactly understand the inflation of the universe, how it would have worked and all this other stuff. At least, I don't know. I'll say I don't know. I don't know if cosmologists know or if there's like a leading hypothesis on it or whatnot. But I can guarantee you it's not some fucking space wizard that really likes Middle Eastern pedophiles.
Proved that galaxies are moving away from us, confirming the universe is still growing.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's just because of how the universe inflated. It inflated near instantaneously. And so it's like the entire universe is the center. And so like everything is moving away from us because we're all kind of like at the center kind of thing. So like in anything that we look at, it's moving away from us. Like that's just how motion fucking works.
Now let's look below our feet, into the layers of the earth. The Quran says in Surah At-Talaq, Allah is He who created 7 heavens and of the earth, the like of them. Modern geology.
Wait, so you're saying that there's 7 layers to the earth? Are there 7 layers to the earth? Let's see, how many layers comprise the earth? The earth is composed of 4 distinct layers. Get fucked, Muhammad! No, sorry. The earth has 4 main layers: the crust, the mantle, the outer core, and the inner core. Let me go back a little bit in this. I know, but let's hear exactly again what it's claiming.
Proved that galaxies are moving away from us, confirming the universe is still growing. Now let's look below our feet, into the layers of the earth. The Quran says in Surah At-Talaq, Allah is He who created 7 heavens and of the earth, the like of them.
Well, yeah, it created 7 heavens, but in the earth, the like of them. So like I feel like that means that, and correct me if I'm wrong, honey or chat, does it not sound like it's saying there's 7 heavens and there's also 7 layers to the earth? I mean, that's what it sounds like, but there's only 4 layers to the earth. There's 4 main layers: the crust, the mantle, the outer core, the inner core. These layers can be further subdivided into smaller, more specific sublayers. Let's see. How many total layers, including sub layers, comprise the earth? The earth has 5 primary layers, but when considering sublayers, it's commonly divided into 8 layers. The primary layers are the crust, mantle, outer core, and inner core, and lithosphere. The sublayers include the asthenosphere, upper mantle, mesospheric mantle, lower mantle, and the continental and oceanic crust. Okay, so I mean, still not 7, but also you have to get like uber specific about it when you're talking about it. And I would think you may be thinking, oh well, that's rather pedantic. You know, God almost got it right, but is almost got it right really up to the task for an all-knowing God? If God got it right, shouldn't He have said, I made the 7 heavens, whatever the fuck that means, and also 8 layers to the earth? If you take it in a very specific time frame, it's 8 layers, and you include sublayers. All the layers. I have the best layers. They're all the layers.
Modern geology confirms the earth has multiple distinct layers, just as the Quran alluded.
Why is God fucking alluding? Why is God like fucking teasing our brains with this shit? Just fucking tell us, God. Like, why has He got to be all cryptic about it? Like, I alluded to multiple layers. I didn't say specifically how many. Why didn't you say that? You know what would be more impressive? Fucking telling us directly how many fucking layers there were.
What about the barrier between salt and fresh water? Surah Ar-Rahman tells us, He released the 2 seas, meeting side by side. Between them is a barrier they do not transgress.
Well, right. In the 7th century, they would have just seen that particular meeting of the two different bodies of water. That, yeah, they wouldn't have known why. They would have just thrown their hands up, be like, "Oh, look, God did it," and that's their explanation. But the actual explanation, or the different densities of both waters, they're so different that they just don't mix. Right? Like this is basic, physics and physical science. Like this is basic shit. Yeah, and Kristen in the chat there said they actually do mix. They eventually, do mix. But I guess I was just talking about visually on top because they think that they don't mix because of that. But it's whatever.
Scientists call this the halocline, a real phenomenon where salinity prevents water bodies from mixing instantly.
Yes, meaning science can explain it, and it doesn't need God to do it. Also, you don't have to know exactly why that happens in order for people to just see it and then just be like, God did that shit. There's no way. I can't explain it, so therefore God. Like, that's all they had to do. You're telling me that a book where they made an observation like, hey, these two bodies, they don't seem to mix. Oh, God did it. And you're like, oh, that solves it. We don't need to look into this further.
Let's talk about the iron in the Quran now. Surah Al-Hadid says, "And we sent down iron, wherein is great military might and benefits for the people." Scientists now believe iron didn't originate on Earth.
Wait, what? Huh? Yeah, so no, iron did not originate on Earth. It was created in the cores of massive... Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. Heavier elements are created in the centers of massive stars. So, I mean, and the way that the Earth would form, like, I didn't exactly know, like, what it meant by didn't originate on Earth. Because, like, okay, so basically what the Quran is saying is that God sent iron down to the Earth. But in actuality, iron just forms out in the universe and then it collected here on Earth. So, like, these are totally different things here. One has a fucking, God, throwing iron down on the Earth. The other one is just a natural collection of minerals and elements and everything like that on the Earth. Yeah. So, I mean, my God, this is like they're retconning the Quran hard with this. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
It came from supernova explosions in space. The Quran's use of the word sent down makes perfect sense in this cosmic context.
Well, yeah, but I mean, so the scientific thing is that the iron was formed in stars, exploded out and everything like that, and then, it collected here on Earth. Like, it's not like they exploded and the Earth was already formed and then iron fell down. Like, that's the way that they're explaining it. But how it actually happened is that iron is formed in the hearts of stars, and when they explode and everything like that, they shoot it out all over the universe. And then when the Earth was forming, it collected, right? And we've got, what is it? What's our core made out of? I believe it's iron and nickel. Yeah, iron and nickel. It's an iron nickel core. All that collected, at the core of the Earth, and like it collected there. Like, I mean, he makes it out to be like the Earth formed and then iron was thrown. You would think that if the Quran was accurate, the Quran would say we formed iron and then put an iron nickel mixture and then allowed a whole bunch of dirt and shit and other metals to cling to that fucking iron nickel ball, and then the Earth formed. Like, you would expect it to say that, not that, oh, you know what? I just took some iron and I threw it at the Earth over there, just giving them something to play with. He's acting like he's some kind of deadbeat dad that's like, let him stick the fork in the outlet. Let's see what happens.
Here's another one. the protective atmosphere above us. Surah Al-Anbiya says, "And we made the sky a protected ceiling, but they turn away from its signs." Modern science confirms the atmosphere protects life by absorbing harmful radiation and destroying incoming space debris.
I have to double check. So our magnetic field helps deflect a lot of the radiation that comes from the sun. Does our atmosphere... yeah, so yes, the Earth's atmosphere protects us from harmful radiation, particularly from the sun and space. The atmosphere shields us from the ultraviolet radiation and other high energy radiation, preventing them from reaching the surface. Let's see. The Earth's magnetic field also deflects incoming charged particles from the sun, protecting us from some types of radiation. So you would, I would expect, like, if this were really supposed to be novel for this time period, I think that, you know, understanding the atmosphere. Let's see, when did we learn about the atmosphere? I mean, I would think that, you know, you would be able to see like the shooting stars and everything like that, and you would be able to infer that the Earth's atmosphere, like, we've always known that there's been an atmosphere. Or at least something out there. I don't exactly know what they knew back then, but it definitely, this is definitely still retconning the Quran to make it seem like it's saying something that more than it actually is.
We made the sky a protected ceiling, but...
So, made the sky a protected ceiling. So, I'm glad that I went back for this, because it's the atmosphere is what he ends up changing it into, but he says the sky. Now, the sky, just everything up above us, you know, for one thing, it's not, like, the blue sky is not a real thing. That is light that is refracted off of our atmosphere, and it turns the sky blue and other various colors depending on the angle of it. Honestly, you know, this isn't even fucking Earth. I don't even know why I'm getting all in a tizzy about this. Like, that's not a continent on this planet. Look at that shit. That is nowhere on this planet. This is an alien planet. We don't know how this shit works on that planet. Anyways, so basically the Quran says the sky. The sky is not anything that deflects anything. It's much like the horizon. The horizon is kind of like this imaginary line, just where the sky meets the earth and everything like that. So, I mean, much in the same way there. So to say that when they say sky, they mean atmosphere, I think that you're forcing something there.
But they turn away from its signs. Modern science confirms the atmosphere protects life by absorbing harmful radiation and destroying incoming space debris.
Yeah, and you would expect God in all of his infinite wisdom to fucking say that, like, I created the atmosphere, which has a mixture of nitrogen, oxygen, and all this other shit, and that definitely breaks up all these asteroids that I'm flinging at you daily. You know, just, I pick up a rock and I'm like, fuck you! And I throw it at you, but your atmosphere is protecting you. By the way, did you know that there is an atmosphere? All of it's a fluid. Start looking into fluid dynamics, you dumb fucks. Like, you would think that God would write that down or reveal that to fucking Muhammad while he's daydreaming about 9-year-old Aisha. But nope, that's not what God chose to do.
All these scientific signs weren't just mentioned. They were emphasized centuries before science could confirm them.
Actually, they were emphasized centuries before some dumb fuck could twist them into something that modern science is saying. That's what actually happened.
The Quran doesn't claim to be a science book, but it contains signs that guide hearts and minds to truth.
No, it doesn't. It contains things that apologists can twist into modern scientific understanding, but it is not anything that is actually descriptive of new novel knowledge in the 7th century.
Truth. And in this age of knowledge, these miracles stand as a timeless bridge between faith and reason.
I mean, if it's a rickety ass bridge that's broken and actually doesn't connect one side to the other, really you can't even call it a bridge. It's more like there's a stick that's embedded in the river and you're like, "Oh, this is a bridge." And it's like, "Only if you want to go fuck yourself."
So ask yourself, how could a man in the desert 1400 years ago describe things no human could have known?
I mean, he didn't. But also, it's not just some old fuck in the desert that got, basically a Mormon type vision from some angel dude. He was actually fantasizing about children too.
Unless it was truly the word of the one who created it all.
If it were really the word of the one that created it all, you think that he would have gotten shit right and not rely on apologists much later to get it right for him.
Before we ask, does God exist, we must understand, why do we ask this question at all?
Because assholes like you make it seem like God is necessary for you to understand reality in the first place. And you take your religion and you try to force it on others and you try to force other people to believe in your religion. And this goes for all Abrahamic religions and, not all religions do this, but like the asshole ones do. So like for his particular religion, he would fall into the category of like wanting to force people to believe in his bullshit. And I'm not keen on believing in things that don't comport with reality. And your religion just simply doesn't comport with reality.
This isn't just curiosity. It's a question tied deeply to our identity, our purpose, and our destiny.
I don't believe in destiny, but destiny kind of like involves this sort of like there's this plan for your life and that's how it's going to go. So I don't believe in destiny. Now, I do believe that, we live in a deterministic universe. So it's like, shit's going to happen the way it's going to happen. And like, I'm just here for the ride kind of thing. I don't know what's going to happen. So that makes my life meaningful and worth living, obviously. But I don't feel like there's all this transcendental addition shit onto life. You can just live your life, be happy about your life and, live it freely.
From the dawn of civilization, humans have searched for meaning beyond what the eyes can see. Why are we here? Who created all this? Is life just random? Philosophers say this question arises from something very real within us.
Is life random? What does that mean, random? Whenever I hear a religious person talk about random or accident or chance or anything like that, I feel like they're trying to say that, oh, this has no underlying cause to it. So like, are events truly random or are they products of prior causes? And these are just the effects. Like, I feel like that there are prior causes for every event that happens in reality. And so like random is not a thing exactly as far as like events happening and whatnot. They seem random to us because we don't understand the underlying causes that came to that that situation or that event happening. I know that's been said before. I can't remember which scientist said it, but if we were to be able to know the position and velocity of I believe it's velocity, not maybe vector, of every atom in the universe, we'd be able to predict the future, right? If we were able to know that. Of course, we can't know that, so we can't predict the future. But just because we don't understand what the underlying causes for any event that exists does not mean that it's random.
A thirst for ultimate truth. It's not just about religion. It's about existence, morality, and even logic. Think about it. We ask, does God exist? Because we experience order, beauty, and purpose all around us.
we experience beauty. What do you say?
Because we experience order, beauty.
Order. So order is just like kind of like a fact of reality, I guess. Like there's an order to the universe, there's an order to how things operate and everything like that. I think that order can be explained by the transformation of energy and how energy is transferred and passed along and changed. I think that can explain the order. Beauty, that is a personal, like emotional reaction to something. So that's something that's controlled by the chemicals in your brain, which means it's ultimately reliant on, chemistry and physics, which means that it's ultimately relying upon this transformation of energy that's constantly happening.
And purpose.
There is no purpose, like purpose in the transcendental way that he's talking about. Like purpose as in, oh, there's this sentient space wizard up there that, has an idea for how he wants everything to work out. And this is the reason why you were created, in order to affect these things in reality. Like in that kind of sense, there's no purpose.
All around us. If the universe had no designer, why does it behave as if it was designed so precisely?
It does not behave as if it were designed precisely. It behaves as nature is intended to behave, because of this transfer of energy and how energy just simply works in our universe. So no, it's not designed precisely. There are underlying causes for everything that happens. Just because we don't understand those underlying causes does not mean that God had to do it, or that everything's random and everything's chaos and all this other stuff.
Even atheist philosophers like Nietzsche and Sartre admitted, the question of God haunts human thought.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that means that just people think about the existence of God a lot. Like it's something that people just seriously consider, and every generation seriously considers whether or not God exists. So like, I mean, that's what they meant by that. I feel like that's quote mining right there.
Fact that we ask this question is proof of our longing for deeper understanding. In Islamic philosophy, scholars like Imam Ghazali argued that belief isn't blind. It's based on reflection.
It's based on reflection? I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. But the faith as portrayed by like the highest tier version, I guess, of faith in these holy books like the Quran and the Bible and the Torah, is definitely a blind faith. Like Jesus definitely wants you to have blind faith. I'm sure, the pedophile guy, he wants you to be blind too, so that you don't see him violate young children. But, it's whatever. I don't know what he means by based on reflection, but maybe he'll expand upon it.
The Quran itself invites us to reflect, ponder, and observe, not just to follow blindly.
But I mean, following blindly is actually the best option there. I mean, sure, you can twist some things in the Quran and these other holy books to make it seem like it values introspection and like questioning and all this other stuff, and having evidence for your faith. But in reality, the highest tier version of faith, the best kind of faith you can have, is fucking blind.
This is why the question of God's existence is a philosophical necessity. It forces us to think. Denying the question doesn't silence it. It only buries it deeper inside the soul. So the next time someone says, "Why even ask if God exists?" tell them, because it's the most important question a human can ever ask. In the end, the question of God's existence is more than just an argument. It's a cry from the soul.
A question is not an argument. I mean, the question of God's existence is not an argument. You got to make an argument for, God's existence in order to answer that question, or support your answer to that question. Like, I don't even know that doesn't even fucking make sense.
Science gives us answers about how, but faith gives us meaning about why.
Well, science can tell us both why and how, so.
There are things beyond the microscope, things only the heart can feel.
my heart doesn't feel anything other than the blood coursing through it. And even then, like, I don't consciously feel the blood coursing through my heart. I know that you're talking about the metaphorical heart, but again, that's not how any scientist would describe your heart. Like, that is something that's going on inside your consciousness, not your fucking heart.
The stars above, the breath you just took, the love you feel.
You know, I've taken so many breaths today that almost killed me because I choked on my own saliva. Was that God too? Is that his intelligent design? That I'm just sitting there, you know, coding away at my computer, doing important shit, and then all of a sudden I'm like, because I fucking choke on my own saliva? Fuck you, God.
These are signs for those who reflect. Maybe you're watching this with doubts, or maybe you're lost in life's noise. But deep inside, there's a voice, a quiet voice that longs for connection, peace, and purpose.
No, typically my inner voices are like, I'm hungry. Why are we still watching this bullshit right here? Hey, do you want to get some pizza later? Hey, do you want to do this? Hey, let's get some whiskey. Like, those are what my inner voices say. They're never like, hey, maybe that pedophile's got a good idea. Like, that's never something that comes across my mind.
And that voice is your soul remembering its creator. The Quran says,
if that voice is my quote unquote soul remembering the creator, the creator loves whiskey. I'm just telling you right now. Like, he's up there probably right now with like a double shot of, I don't know, fucking what, like expensive fucking whiskey, because he can just like, psh.
Verily, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest. So don't ignore the question. Don't silence the soul. Let your heart...
Okay, souls don't exist. So yeah, I'm not silencing anything other than your video when I get done with it.
Seek the truth. And if this video stirred something inside you, then this is your sign to begin your journey back to the one who created you.
Nobody created me. Also, my parents, they fucked one time, and then I gestated for 9 months, and then I was born in November. So, I mean, I don't know what you're trying to talk about here. Like, none of this makes sense. Anyways, that's going to be it. I'm totally done with this bullshit. All of the not hippy dippy, but all of this AI imagery and AI voice and everything like that. Like, oh, fuck all that. Anyways, that's going to be it for the video tonight. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you will, please go down below and let me know what you thought about this guy's video, sans all the AI shit that we saw. Let me know if you think that he did anything to actually prove God, or do you think that he was just retconning the Quran to make it make sense with modern science and comport with reality. You could tell how he was changing the words of the Quran to match how we understand reality now, and I don't think that that's the way that you really get to a good argument for the Quran being like this ultimate source of knowledge. Let me know down below in the comments. While you're down there, why don't you smash that like button and subscribe if you like this kind of content. I am about to be going to the Skeptic Mafia comments so that I can interact with the Skeptic Mafia. I understand that if you don't want to stick around or anything like that, I really do appreciate everybody for stopping by. I don't know if y'all know
this, but when you get to heaven, your moral actions are not judged. You're only judged for believing in me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth Richardson, who says, almost forgot my tithe. It's been a while. Enjoy your vacation. Thank you so much there, Elizabeth. And thank you, everybody that said happy anniversary to KC, and I really appreciate that, and appreciate all of y'all in the chat tonight. But I hope that all of you will stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens. But don't go, because we've got the Skeptic Mafia to get to. And I'm getting the post up right now. Looks like we've only got 3 comments. Okay. Sorry, I just had to fix something real quick right there. Boom. All right. So first up on the comments tonight, we've got Mark Fernkoff, who says, Okay, wow, a long one. This should be fun. Nope, I was wrong. There is so much stupid in this. I couldn't even finish it. I kept wanting to yell at my fucking phone. This is bad. It'll be great to hear GE rip this one apart tonight, though. Damn it, my text to talk or talk to text is fucking up, and I'm driving, so this is difficult. Fallacy after fallacy after fallacy after fallacy. Starting off with some of the God of the Gaps. Yeah, we basically know how abiogenesis works, not all the way, but we're getting closer and closer all the time. The Earth gets closer to the sun all the time. The Earth rotates around the sun. Rotation around the sun varies by like millions of miles closer and farther away naturally all the time. I apologize for grammatical and syntactical errors because, you know, talk to text driving. What other bullshit did they say before? I stopped listening. Oh yeah, puddle analogy, puddle analogy, puddle analogy, puddle analogy. Einstein was not religious. He liked to speak poetically about the universe whenever he used the term God. Jesus fucking Christ. I should really just, you know, watch tonight, let you eat, tear this apart, let you eat here in this apartment. I'll let GE tear this apart. I don't know if there's a new Toast to Toast AM tonight. I hope there is. I hope there is. There should be, but there should have been one last week too, and there wasn't. Daredevil came back with fantastic fashion that ended this week. Doctor Who came back with a fucking triumph this week. Brand new episode drops at 2 a.m. and it's already getting beyond rave reviews. So exciting. Andor returns Tuesdays, as I always love and worship. The gorgeous goddess Candy Black. I want to go pick up this pizza now. I'll be watching you all soon tonight. Where are heathens? I said heathens later. Stupid talk to text. Thank you so much there, Mark. I appreciate you. Tomato Goes In says, I really only have one thing to say. And it's a big no. Because of course I have to press X to doubt. Oh, pressing X to doubt. I gotcha. I really have no segue here, so good luck, and lick that like button and the subscribe button, ding that bell, lick all the YouTube things. You know what? Just go ahead and generously coat your phone in saliva. Just get all up in there. And remember, Casey is always right. I will listen to Casey. I will not ignore Casey's recommendations. Casey is God. And if this ever happens again, Casey will personally rip your lungs out. Fuck. Eat your goddamn fruits and veggies and drink some fucking water, and tomato out. Thank you so much there, Zumi. Appreciate you. And then finally, Mr. Hanachek, dumping trash, who says, bullshit. Duct tape can fix a lot of things, but it can only muffle stupidity. Fuck. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, all of the Skeptic Mafia members that left a comment tonight. Really appreciate y'all. Appreciate everybody in the chat right now and everybody hanging on past the Skeptic Mafia comments and everything like that. You guys are awesome. I am going to go and get some whiskey, and I will talk to all of you heathens later. Don't forget, Sunday, Sunday we have a AXP at 4:30, and then at 7 we've got the line. Goddamn. We've got the line Sunday after dark. So where I'm on with Forrest on the line, and then I'm on with the Cross Examiner on AXP. It's also Zombie Lich Day. No, not Zombie Lich Day. Jewish Lich Day. So I'll have a special monologue for Sunday for AXP. So definitely stop by over there. I will be sharing out the links tomorrow for both shows. So definitely tune in for that. All right. Y'all have a nice night. Great weekend, heathens. And I will see you guys next week, hopefully with some more fresh content rather than some clips from the talk shows. So I will see you heathens later. Don't forget to stand up, use your voice, and all that kind of good shit. Bye, heathens.